This app's called Poker Hit. Currently I have $2.18. I'm ranked in the professional league, so I get $1 when I log in every day. Next rank is veteran. I'm currently ranked 70th in the professional league. It goes beginner, amateur, expert, elite, professional, veteran, all-star, master, challenger, champion, world class, and legendary. So I win an average of 27.85 hands, or 85%. And I played 23,181 hands. I raise almost 21% of the time. I fold 28% of the time. And I try to live up to this moniker, the most feared player. Try to get better every 1,000 hands I play. I try to improve my game. But I'm getting unlucky. My win percentage was at 32% after 8,000 hands, and it's dropped down almost 5%, so that's kind of suspicious since I'm a better player than I was then. It's online, so it's easier to rig the software, and with nanotechnology, see what it is their whole cards. For my whole theory on that, go to www.change.org/technology. Basically, computer-assisted telepathy is possible. We're made up of water. Water conducts electricity. If you've ever been shocked, you know this. So our biology is able to be hacked remotely. So let's see what I could do with this. Jack 3. So that worked out, that's nice. Anytime you don't have to show your cards, it's good, because there's that mystery factor. They never know for sure what you have. Sometimes you want to get called and show your cards because you trapped them, or you have the nuts, what have you. But I try to win as many pots as I can without showing my hand, just for the mystery. I didn't always play lots of hands. The more seasons you get, the more comfortable you are playing marginal or weak hands. Because sometimes I just need to be in the pot with somebody and then I could end up winning. Sometimes I play cards based on instinct. I have a gut feeling that a hand's gonna win, so if it's cheap, I'll speculate if I could afford to. When you only have $1.18, you can't really speculate too much.
These fucking things are garbage. I don't know.
Open up the playbook. So this player's jamming frequently, so the more frequently somebody jams, your hands don't need to be as strong to call them. If they rarely go all in, then you need a strong hand. But if they're going all in, say 2 hands out of 5, every 5 hands, then basically you just sit back until you have a strong hand and then call them, and chances are you're ahead, so they need to get lucky. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. The smart ones, because it's a successful strategy if you have the gall and moxie to do it, is to jam a couple times or jam once with a weak hand, and then ideally get pocket aces within the next few hands, jam again where you're more likely to get called. So now that there's 2 aces, it's less likely that he has it. He could be trapping me, but I'm gonna jam. On this particular app, you get points right down here in the bottom corner where it says 53. I got 53 crowns, so I was hoping to get points for jamming then. Well, I hate doing it, but I have a decent hand, so I'm gonna see if I get lucky this time. Hopefully I win the big pot. Nice. 1 off. The whole thing. I almost folded because Ace King it disappoints you lots. Just like kings, it gives you this false confidence, and usually you end up losing a lot. Same with this. This is top pair, but it's vulnerable to so many hands. Now he has 9 cents, so I'm gonna jam to get some points. See how I got 2 crowns there? So even if I lose, it's only 9 cents. So it's worth it to get a couple crowns because they've moved me up a couple places in the professional league. You can't do it all the time. especially if he would have had more than 9 cents, I probably would have played it more conservative. But since he had so few, couldn't stack me basically. I'm confident in my game that I'm willing to go with my gut, whether make a move. I should have jammed there. Bad strategy. Since I knew I was calling, it was advantageous for me to jam on this app to get the crowns. So now Tango has me covered and he has position over me, so I have to basically see what type of player he is and or she is. You learn a lot from how people play when you're not in the pot. So if you see them try a move on somebody else, and you see that same move on you, you either know from seeing their hands, ideally, whether they had it or not. So if they have it and they're making the same play on you, you may want to fold. But if they don't have it the first time and they're making the same play on you, you may, probably the best strategy is to try to raise them a little bit. Depending on your chip stack. He's the perfect poker player with no to fold pocket aces 20% of the time. 20% of the time you lose with pocket aces. If you, ideally you want to go all in pre-flop. But that's because you have an advantage, so you have to get outdrawn. And usually on the flop, people either make their hand or they're gonna fold. So it's the opportunity. You might not be able to extract as much after the flop with your pocket aces, but you can. If you go in pocket aces every once in a while, the flip side of the coin is going in with a super weak hand like 7 deuce. Not too often, but if you jam with solid hands, say 80-90% of the time, and then the other 10-20% of the time not so strong. So most of the time you have it, and you're hoping every time that you don't have it, you either come from behind or outplay them. So this is going to be a disappointing hand. I have so many outs. I have the open end straight, I have the flush, and I'm going to miss both because I almost always do. I might get a pair if I'm lucky. Usually when you have lots of outs, it seems you don't hit. Because you have this confidence, because you have half the deck almost to hit. So your odds are like a little over 1 and 2. So ideally you don't want to be calling all in even though you have tons of outs. Sometimes you have to, because you can't get bullied at the table. So I might check raise, depending on his bet. opportunity there. I probably could have got away with the bet on the river. Almost certainly would have won it with a check raise if he bets. Unless you have a read on me. Because when you call with deuces there, if you consistently call with deuces there, you're going to consistently lose over the long run. Every once in a while, if you have a good read, make the call. As often as you're accurate. If you're only accurate 20% of the time, then it's like, okay, there's no more hero calls. But if your hero calls or calls with bottom pair are accurate most of the time, then go keep it up. Just like bluffing, you want to bluff until you get caught. And then even when you get caught, sometimes it's like, okay, well, was it a fluke that they caught me? Because ideally, if you get caught bluffing, ideally you're going to be more patient, because you're more likely to get called, especially within the next several hands afterwards. Your bluffs are likely to be unsuccessful, so ideally you wait for a good hand, and then people are more likely to call you because you're a known bluffer at this point, so you could use it to your advantage. Everything that happens to you at the poker table, except for a catastrophic loss, could be used to your advantage. Even catastrophic loss, you learn from, because especially if you're able to reload and play against that player again, you now know how they play the big hands. So now, if they're playing any stronger than that, it's like, okay, well, now I know you don't have a big hand, because when you had a big hand, you're betting 15, and now you're betting 75. So it's like, okay, this guy or girl is now betting to protect their hand, so I might be able to steal the pot away from them. I love the game of poker. It's psychology, it's art, it's math. So every tip that I reveal in my videos, I kind of pressure myself to evolve my game and get better. I never do anything 100% of the time, because you're going to get disappointed. If you jam with pocket aces 20% of the time, you're going to get disappointed. So depending on the player, sometimes you want to slow play it. So, well, not slow play, trap. I never slow play. There's no suspense if I have you. If I had the nuts, I'm not gonna maximize my kind and then call. It's kind of classless. So since I'm gonna call if this guy doesn't jam, since I'm gonna call the 14 cents on this app, it's advantageous for me to jam, so I get credit. So I got lucky there. But for the 14 cents and the 5 outs that I had, and keeping them honest, factor I want to flip. I went on a bad streak where I won maybe under 10 flips out of 50 on this site, so it was brutal. But I kept on losing because I figured my odds were gonna change, that I was due to get lucky and win. When you lose 6 in a row, it's like, okay, well, I should win the 7th, and then you lose the 7th, it's like, okay, I should win the 8th. So you kind of get in this, it would be the same at the roulette table. If you're betting red and it comes black, eventually it's gonna come red or green. So you might end up chasing it longer than you logically should. Because I love poker, so I love every gambling book that the library had, even games that I play. I just wanted to understand the psychology of a gambler. And one of the tips that, whether it be blackjack, that essentially is basically, if you bet 10 bucks, if you lose, bet 20, and if you lose, bet 40, if you lose, walk away. So just consistently do that. So if you win a couple, then go back down to 10. So once you win 40, go back down to 10, and then ideally win that, and then maybe go down to 10 again, build up slowly, and then try to walk away from your head. That's the bad thing about online poker. Like when you're at the casino, you could be like, okay, I had enough, I'm up, I won enough, I'm not gonna get greedy, time to walk away. Because it's a catch-22 when you play poker. If you're better than somebody, you want to play with them longer. The longer you play with them, the less luck is a factor. Skill becomes more of an advantage. Especially if you play heads up with somebody. You could learn quite a bit about somebody, how they play 2 pairs, trips, flushes, straights, how they play their big hands, their weak hands. You could learn a lot faster because you're playing with them every hand. So, what might take you, some players, it might take you years or months to kind of crack their code at a casino. But in a heads-up tournament, like, you might have them figured out in a half hour. There's some players I play against, just how they play, I know they can't really damage me unless I allow it to happen in a way. By making a call when chances are they have it and I could draw out on them. So here's another, I'm gonna call because it's only 15 cents and there's 70 cents in the pot, so I'm gonna jam. So when I flopped the straight there, next time it happens, I'm gonna play it a little differently. Depending on position, how many chips I have, what my instinct's telling me, because a certain percentage of the time when you flop a straight, you end up losing to a flush or a full house or a four of a kind. Straight flush, oil flush, etc. So it's a slippery slope because your good hands you want to try to maximize profit, but at the same time they're the riskiest because you win say 80% of the time, 90% of the time, but when you lose, you usually lose it all. You're usually knocked out of the tournament, or they take all your chips unless you have more than them. The perfect player knows when to fold a full house, even a four of a kind. If there's a straight flush on board, a 4-card straight flush. Every once in a while, depending on how they play it, the prudent thing to do is to fold your 4 of a kind. If you have them covered, never. But if they have you covered, and you could be eliminated in the tournament, especially if you're deep in the tournament. That's usually, if you're in a 1,000+ field tournament, usually the players, when they lose, it's straight to a flush or a full house to a higher full house. They're not usually going in with top pair. Pairs, it's usually stronger hands, like sets. Sets are probably the hardest hand to figure out because it could be any one card out of the 5 community cards. So it's a hand I lose the most to, the sets. You can kind of figure out how they're playing, like how they play, especially if you play, like if you just start playing with somebody and they flop a set, you don't really have a read on them. But if you have some playing history with them, they might be playing it a little bit stronger than their other hands, so they might tip their hand to you. So 1 for 2 for flips. That's the last thing I wanted to see was a diamond. So I just got caught bluffing, so now how could I use that to my advantage? I have position over him, so I'm going to see another card. Now I could get in trouble because eat 6 of hearts is spectacular. So I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to get the call anyways. I wouldn't have called if he had more chips than me. Because of the eat 6 possibility. I like to win with 10 deuce, a tribute to Doyle Brunson. So every once in a while I'll try to win with it. I'm hoping to get lucky since I don't have position. But now that I had pre-flop, they might put me on ace. It worked. So it's not an ideal scenario at the table. The player to the left of me has twice as much money as me, so they get to react after me almost every time, so. And they're playing pretty solid, so tougher not to crack. All you could do is look for chinks in the armor. And the more you play with them, the more you get to see. I would love to play in a heads-up tournament against the pros and make it deep and win. Because unless it comes down to luck, but any game where you spend about a half hour, an hour playing against them, you're gonna have a pretty good clue on how they typically play, unless they evolve their game. Hopefully he calls. I want to play in a big pot with him. I always want to play in a big pot with the person that has the most chips. I'm hoping to get it all, but at the same time, so I'm gonna call. So it's better for me to jam to get. side, and you don't, if you're always calling, you're kind of missing out on the crown, so you're never gonna achieve the league that you should be in. But it's easy to forget I missed an opportunity this video. You only do it ideally when you have them covered. And if it's a few cents. And you can afford to lose, because happens all the time where you think you have the winner and then the guy flips it over and you're like, ouch. So he has 4 cents left, so to get coins, I'm going to jam. They almost always call with 4 cents, so I did see a guy fold with 2 cents left. So now this is a false confidence hand. I had a feeling I might lose. That's why I checked on the flop. But didn't want to give him another free card, so if you had more chips than me, I wouldn't have jammed. I would have probably played it a little bit slower. Seen the river, since my instinct was telling me that I'm likely to lose that hand. Because it happens all the time with people that get false confidence. They flop a strong hand with the nods, but then they turn the river come. Because in a perfect world, if you flop the nuts, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna jam. But people don't always call. But when you have the nuts, ideally, you're hoping all the chips go in. If he would have jammed, I would have folded. Even though it was only a few cents to call. That time, in a future scenario, maybe not. Sometimes all we need is just that. Sometimes it's, if you could bluff with 20 and achieve the same information as you would if you bet with 100 or went all in, then bet with 20. Could have had the ace. Or the 8. Or 2 aces. So if I was alone in the pot with that guy, that would have been another opportunity to jam to get more crowns. But since there was another player behind me that had more chips than me, and I had a vulnerable top pair, I was hoping he called and then get more information, because I was likely to be ahead. But it's being able to develop a good top pair game, because it all depends on your kicker and it's vulnerable to every other hand that's 2 pair and above. So ideally you want to proceed with caution, because if there's no straight or flush possibility when you see in all the community cards, your confidence should go up a bit, but you're more vulnerable to sets and 2 pairs with a board like that. So it's such a tricky game, because sometimes it's advantageous to go all in, and then sometimes it isn't. So you got to go with your instinct and your past performance. How often has it worked for you? And what is the likelihood of them having it? So I'm hoping to play in a big pot with Tango and double up through him. That'd be fantastic. I'm going to take a stab at it. I was going to bet more, but so that last jam, there was unlikely the perfect amount. If I jammed, he almost certainly would have called with his 2 pair. So if I would have bet pot, I would have lost more. Sometimes I check because he made the call, so he's likely to make the call on the river. But it's such a fun game because it's a delicate balance, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If you do a random play every once in a while, it has a huge success rate, unless your timing's off. Oh, the other guy left. I was hoping he stayed because he had $5 and he was a higher rank than me. And he had position over me, so it was an opportunity to grow as a player. So ideally, we could get into a couple of head-to-head confrontations, and ideally I would come out ahead most of them. So I'm getting pretty good pot odds to 14 cents to win 76. And I missed. But this is pretty dangerous looking flop, so I'm going to take a stab at it. He's likely to call 32 cents, so unfortunately. Now I'm hoping to get lucky because he only has 10 cents left. But to get points, I'm going to call. To get credit, I might get lucky. So now I showed a very weak hand. So I have two things going for me. If I have a good hand, I'm likely to get called. And they now know if they bluff, I'm likely to call with a bad hand. Where I might get lucky. So it makes it harder to bluff against somebody if you think they're going to call. So you gotta adapt your table image constantly, because some people have a very long memory. At the casino, hours to pull a move on you, especially at the higher caliber players. But online, I find people have a lot of short memory, because hands are happening so fast, and in person you're looking at the player who's making these bets, and you're reading their body language, and then the psychology and math, pot odds. Instinct. Because you're instant, like, I might get a call, and I might not. So ideally, in a perfect world, I would have jammed the hand before, getting pocket aces, with any two cards. And then, since it was a new move from me at the table, they haven't seen me do it. The odds of getting called were slim. But I'd rather try to win a big pot sometimes. So because at this level, on this site, the first level tables anyways, they almost always call if you jam with aces, so it's kind of advantageous to do it, say 80% of the time. But you can't do it just with pocket aces. You got to switch it up. most of the time have a very strong hand, and then occasionally a weaker hand. Occasionally any two cards. Especially if you have position, you haven't played in a long time. Sometimes when you get aces, you run into kings, queens, ace king, other strong hands that are likely to call your all in. This is five-handed, so like at the casino, it's usually a bigger game, so your strategies should be different. You should be playing a tighter game because in a nine-handed game, they more likely to have those two perfect cards that the board is showing. So you always got to try to figure out, okay, what's the best possible hand. So Queen 10 would be the best drawn hand at this point. And the beauty about poker is the turn's going to either solidify it or change it completely. So now a good sleeper hand is if they made a call, if you had 4-6, if you had 4-6 and a 7 or a deuce king, then you're pretty much gonna get lots of chips. Maybe not at that time, but sleeper hands like that, if you every once in a while, if you call the bet on the flop and gives you a draw, because usually you're not drawing dead until the turn. Sometimes you're drawing dead on the flop, but usually you're not. It's unfortunate with the potential 4-6 or whatever it was scenario where the person would have rivered the straight. If we would have seen both players' hands, we would have seen if an all-in would have got called. So the best hand here is a 4 of a kind. And pocket fives. I never done it, but I seen a player flop a straight flush before. Which was pretty cool. I lost to a straight flush within the last couple of days. So if this guy calls here, See, he called instead of jam, so he's not getting the crowns at points that he should have been. So that's probably why he's in the expert league and not instead of elite. Because they're playing really solid, actually, and but every time on the site you miss out on crowns, then you're just kind of handicapping yourself. Because I think this is the 4th week that I made it to professional, and the first time I maintained professional status. But usually my trajectory is to go to veteran. I'm on pace to go to veteran, where I'm leading, and then I'll go on a pretty bad unlucky streak where I'm losing with aces and strong hands, and when you lose, it's usually could be $6 at the $40 table, $4,100 table. Sit down with $40, you could lose that pretty quick, or double or triple up really fast. When somebody's all in and your heads up with another player, I don't recommend bluffing that often, because everybody's going to see your cards, so they're going to see that you bluffed, so unless you change your tactics. But sometimes it's worth it to try to win the pot, because instead of if you're the three-handed and one guy's all in, your odds are 1 in 3, depending on what hand you have. But just based on luck, your odds are 1 in 3. So if your head's up, your odds are 1 in 2. And usually the guy that's all in has a strong hand. So you're usually not playing for the small pot. You're playing for a bigger pot. Like I was hoping to play in a $4 pot against Dorian. I wanted to win the smaller pot, don't get me wrong, but I was hoping to play in the bigger pot. This won't be the last hand of the video, so if you like the way I played, consider sponsoring me, making endorsements, or endorsing me, making a donation. My email address is christianerikarnemeyer@gmail.com. And don't forget to go to www.change.org/technology sign the petition, share it on social media, and contribute about $10 to get it on the agenda in your country, so a government task force could be set up with civilian and military oversight committees, because our internal thoughts are just sounds that could be amplified and heard remotely. And if you Google computer-assisted telepathy YouTube, watch this video. It shows how with computer-assisted telepathy, they're able to influence a yes/no decision from somebody remotely. And this technology has been around for a long time. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day.